So it's that time of week again where I'm going to put my England cap on and this time have a little snapshot of where I think they're at 2 games into the World Cup. Have they turned a corner? What are the positives? What are the negatives? Also, I'm going to do my player ratings for the Japan game and make my selection for the upcoming Chile game. So first of all, praise where praise is due. They've won 2 games. That's the most important thing. On the scoreboard, fairly comfortable wins, but they were bitty and they had to manage them, i.e. them not playing great at times and still get it done, them being a man down at times. And they're going to be much better off for those games because under Steve Borthwick, they've definitely struggled to get into a rhythm. 6 Nations in the warm-ups, so now 2 wins into the World Cup. Confidence will be as high as it's ever been under Borthwick. And clear heads and confidence makes you make better decisions for sure. Now, George Ford is clearly a big part of this. He probably wasn't meant to start these games. It would have been Owen Farrell, but he got banned. And he's also shown that he can play on the back foot because often in the past, it's been said of George Ford, he's only really a front foot player. And he's been on the back foot a lot in these games and still taken control. I mean, take, for example, the Freddie Stewart try. Well, Ford was actually going across the pitch looking for running options, and when they weren't there, he didn't panic. He was off balance, so had to kick off his least favoured foot and still found Freddie Stewart perfectly for that try. So that kind of illustrates where Ford is at with his game at the moment, really seeing things nice and slowly like good players do. And also, some other players are stepping up. We've seen some solid performances from Jamie George, Mara Itoje, Courtney Lawes the captain, and the younger Ben Earl, so that's good news in the pack. Sure, there's not been some stellar performances all across the backline, but let's look at the positives for now. Versus Japan, towards the end, maybe we saw a bit of English attack breakout, a bit of chaos being caused in the defence, ever so slightly, but goodness me, though both teams dropped the ball a lot, it was very greasy. But let's see, when it's a dry day, when handling conditions are better, can England actually put something together? Maybe some tiny signs in the Japan game. Maybe I'm being over optimistic. Now, some other positives. The line-out has been looking good. George throwing in has been spot on. Lawes, Itoje, Chesham, 3 really good jumpers. And that basic maul is a real weapon. Something that had been lost under the end under Eddie Jones, so at least that is something that's come back. And so far the scrum hasn't really been a weakness, although it hasn't been fully tested. Their main tactic, their go-to tactic, is the kick to compete or the kick for territory, both of which have been yielding good results for England. I mean, against Japan, they seem to hoover up all the loose ball off those kicks to compete. So those are some good positives. So now we do have to talk about some concerns. It's true, you can only play what's in front of you, but those top teams won't be scared about what they've seen from England so far. They'd fancy a crack-a-dar scrum. They'd fancy their defence to soak up all our English attacks that we've seen so far. And also my main worry is, one-on-one, we haven't seen a lot of individual attacking talent. Ben Earl apart and maybe Marcus Smith when he's come on, but we need to see some more. You've got to think some players like Henry Arundel need to be brought into this team if they're going to beat enough players to cause problems for the better teams. Off the bench, Genge, Theo Dan, they have brought a bit of impact, but I'm not sure there's a lot of impact coming off the bench. And my concern is England's attacking shape. Yeah, it could click, but even a perfect system without these one-on-one players isn't going to be good enough. So I would summarise England's most important task is to avoid whoever wins Pool C, whoever that form team is, just to give themselves the best possible chance to get in the semi-final. And it's true, it may well be the easiest of all the quarter-finals, and England probably need that. But in the semi, yet they're coming up against, it looks like the winner of Pool A or the runner-up of Pool B if England win the pool. So that's probably France or Ireland. And at the moment, we haven't seen an English game that can beat them, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. England have still got 2 more games in this pool and they need to get their structures right at least. Do they have enough individual talent? I don't know, but there is hope, but maybe not expectation yet. So now let's go through some player ratings for that Japan game. I'm just going to get them all up on the screen and quickly go through these. Marler, a 6. Solid basics, 1 good jackal, and of course a good header for the try for Lawes. That was pretty hilarious. Ellis Genge coming off the bench had some powerful bursts, so a 6 for him. Jamie George has been churning out some solid performances, maybe a 6 or a 7. He's fit, he's full of running, good darts, plenty of vocal leadership, so he's been very reliable and key for England so far. And even though Theo Dan only got a few minutes off the bench, he still did probably more than many with his speed and power in those carries, so I think that's a good combo. Cole Sinclair, yeah, he has good hands for a prop, certainly some nice passes, nothing wrong here, but we're not seeing that eye-catching performance that we've seen of Sinclair in the past, so a 5. And Will Stewart, I'm starting to worry, it's a 3 again, agility very low in the defensive line, a bit of a liability, some bad handling errors, so I'm going for a 3 there. George Martin, who came onto the second row, I'm probably going for a 4 because I haven't seen that impact from him yet. Atoje and Chesham, I'm going for a pair of 6s. Solid work, especially in the line-out. Good work rate, good tackling. Maybe not stellar, but not bad. Laws has been one of England's better players, which is good because he's the captain. Good line-out game, some good hands. He finds himself wider out in the system, does okay there. Along with George, Earl and Ford, yeah, they've been the pick of the English so far, so 7 for Laws. And then Earl, England's best player, I think I said in the match report, an 8 for him. Their most destructive attacker for sure. I like it when they get him out wide. He's probably actually our most dangerous back as well, which says quite a lot, to be honest. Maybe clone him and play him at 12 or something, or on the wing. So 8 for Earl's, good performance. Lewis Ludlam, I'd hope for a bit more. He's a hard worker, but nothing massively eye-catching. I don't know if I'm unfair. He looks a little underpowered for the international game at the moment, but a 5 there. I think he can do better. Billy coming off the bench doesn't really bring anything to the game, not much pace, so I think a 4 there for Billy. Am I being harsh? Mitchell, probably not his best game, but he did put some good kicks up occasionally, a few sniping runs, maybe he could have done better, probably about a 6. Young's on was okay, maybe a 5. Ford, another good display, I thought. England's structure fell apart a lot during the phase play and he had to scramble and improvise on the hoof. Some really good kicking, good goal kicking, so I think a 7 for Ford is pretty reasonable there. Tuolangi, when he was used, he made gain line, but he didn't feature enough. Sometimes you forget he's playing, so I'm going for a 5 there. Lawrence a 5 coming off the bench as well. Marchant, full of energy and work, but a bit like Tuolangi, not in the game enough, and that is just kind of a reflection of England's attack. But he did score a good try with a good line, so 6 for Marchant, definitely the first choice at 13 at the moment. Johnny May and Daly, not really a winger's game. Again, lots of chasing, a few good touches, one bad mistake from May, actually lost 50 metres on a penalty, so 4 for May, 5 for Daly. Stewart, bit of a mixed bag, gobbled up plenty of high ball, obviously one very well taken try, but then a few knock-ons as well, so 6 for Stewart. Smith, yeah, looks good, looks our best attacker, which for a 10 coming on at 15 is impressive, so 7 for him. He's got to get a start at some point because he's making a really good case for himself, and I think physically he's definitely improved since last we've seen him for England, say in the Six Nations. So finally, let's talk about selection for the Chile game. This should be the most entertaining England game yet. Probably because the bar is very low, but also Chile are a very positive team, and these players that are going to be coming in, because they are going to have to rotate pretty much all their players, will have a point to prove. So let's get into the team. I think it's the team they should play, not necessarily their best team, because of course it's a 6-day turnaround. They've had 2 big games in a row with their so-called first team picked, so these are the players I think they should pick. Bevan Rodd at loosehead. I believe he's in this World Cup somewhere. We haven't seen him, so he needs a start. Theo Dan, from having roles off the bench and doing pretty well, needs a start, and Walker coming on. We'll go to the bench in a minute, actually. Tighthead, I'm worried about Tighthead. Cole is a veteran. Stewart looks a bit out of his depth, to be honest. Sinclair's not been himself for quite a long time, so I think Cole gets a start here just because. Rotation. Second rows, Martin and Ribbons, I think absolutely you have to start. Martin's been coming off the bench and doing okay, but nothing amazing, so he's got a point to prove. Ribbons, I think, could push even for a start. Chesham has been decent, but hasn't torn up trees, so Ribbons, a more mature player. You could absolutely bring him in to start, so let's see how he goes. Then Lewis Ludlam, I think, doubles up, although he didn't start the first game, so I think that's fair enough. He starts at 6, probably his better position in the back row. Rest Laws, who's been going really well, playing a lot of minutes. Jack Willis obviously needs to start at 7. Billy Villapola, even though I have some reservations about what he brings to the team. The specialist 8 hasn't played, starts at 8. Danny Kerr and Smith, I think they start at half-backs, the Harlequins pairing. Kerr and Smith, I think, go together very well. I think if we're ever going to launch a decent attack, get an attack going in the game, these two maybe could get it going. Smith deserves a start. He's been England's best back probably so far, apart from Ford. Then Farrell, I think, has to come into 12. It's not my preferred option, but I think just to rest and rotate, it's really the only way I see it. Lawrence at 13. Yes, Daly could play 13, but he's played an awful lot. So, I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Malins has to come into the back three, maybe onto the wing. Someone's going to have to double up. So let's say May doubles up. I know it's 3 games in a row. It's a lot to ask, but someone has to do it. So he definitely doesn't play the next game. And let's get Henry Arundel on that pitch in his favourite position of 15. See what he can do. Give him some licence. Give him some confidence. On the bench, Walker coming on. Should be a good impact. Marler, so they can rest Genge. Sinclair, I think Stewart just hasn't really impressed me, but you could play Stewart there as well. Chesham coming off the bench if needed, but he's had a lot of minutes, so I think the starting second rows go as far as they can. Earl Bennell has to be on there as well because Tom Curry obviously is suspended, but if Bennell can't come on, if there's an opportunity not to bring him on even, I think you keep him off. Young's on the bench and rest Mitchell, who's played a lot. Daly, again, maybe half and half with May, I don't know. And Stewart as emergency cover as well. So it's a bit of a bitty game where they have to get people game time and try and preserve some players as well and manage their minutes. So yeah, I'd be fairly excited for this game. I think there could be quite a lot of tries, end-to-end stuff. Hopefully, maybe a bit more exciting, some points to prove. Let me know if this is the way you'd go with selection or a different way. Let me know on your ratings and also how you'd sum up England's form so far in this World Cup. I'd love to know what you'd think. All those comments below, and I'll catch you next time.